Okay. Cultural exchange 2.
Jojo.
Do we want to start talking about Jojo, or do we want to start talking about something else about the book first?
I mean, it's up to you.
All right, well, I'll talk about Jojo just because it's fresh in my mind here. Okay, so right off the bat, there's some sexual assault and the murder of a dog. And you enjoy this after all the things you said about freaking Red Rising and like, oh, it's using rape to just progress the story. I'm like, isn't that exactly what happened here?
Like, so the difference is that, like, it happens in the middle of the book in Red Rising, right? Whereas this is the first episode. Like, this is just like, hey,
we're establishing that Dio is a terrible person.
Right off the bat, yeah. Like, we're just gonna do it right off the bat. We need to give you the origin story of, is this one Joseph or Jonathan? I can't remember. I keep
Jonathan Joestar.
Okay, Jonathan. Okay. Because the way JoJo works is every part there's a new JoJo.
No, I get that. Yeah, like okay. the it kind of gave it away in that the last episode of part 1.
Okay, yeah. So Jonathan is an annoying good boy, and Dio's a badass bad boy.
My God, the British caricatures in this are just fucking hilarious.
It's so fucking funny. Oh my God. Oh, it's like this is like probably the worst of all of the JoJos, like all the parts. Cause like the animation's not that great. It's very rough. The story's kind of simplistic.
I have to ask, are zombies and vampires a recurring thing throughout the rest of this, or is it just a part 1 thing?
No, they're a recurring part. There's a new mask in part 2, and there's like the Pillar Men. But part 2 just like starts off running. It turns into a lot of like Indiana Jones, in a big way.
Well, I think it does take place like in the 30s or something, right?
Yeah, in the 40s or something like that. I think it's like 1939 or something like that. I don't know.
So that kind of fits with Indiana Jones.
Yeah, there's some Nazis running around. It gets wild. And Joseph's funny as shit.
Okay, but the thing is, we're talking about part 1 here, not part 2.
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine.
Part 1. The thing that pissed me off the most about this anime is that it has that one anime trope that really bugs me, and it does it so much. And that is that there's always this character in the back that pretty much serves no purpose but to tell us exactly what we've just seen happen on the screen. And his name is Ario Speedwagon.
Yeah, Speedwagon sucks. But
I'm just like, oh my God. Yes, I see that he froze his arms. I just saw it happen. I can tell it's ice. Please stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a holdover because this was like a manga, right? So it's like a comic book. So like there has to be a character that's kind of explains what's going on in the background. And because Speedwagon kind of is like he's like an emotional core for JoJo a little bit. Like he's just gonna be there. I don't know. This JoJo's is just absurd. I don't know how to describe it. Like, it's one of those things where, like, fuck, man, it's JoJo. I don't know what to tell you. This is all the jokes.
The hormone thing had me going for a little bit, just because, like, why do they keep talking about Spanish ham?
See, I don't know where that translation comes from, because, like, the original translation, like in the manga and stuff, they just call it ripples. Like it's the ripple energy and ripple power.
Because they do mention ripples in the show, but then it's like, no, we're gonna call it hormone.
Yeah,
we're gonna call it ham. It's just ham.
Yeah. So I always just think of it as ripples. Fucking, I don't know, just.
But I just like I had to rewind because at one point I was like doing something else at the same time. And I kind of just missed it. All of a sudden, I just hear him keep saying hormone. I'm like, why are they talking about ham? This is supposed to be in Britain. So I had to restart the episode, and I was like, oh, okay, this tracks now. But what the fuck?
Oh man, I don't know. So like, you probably aren't that familiar, but like, there's so many memes in this. Like the very first episode was like, oh, you thought your first kiss was gonna be,
But it is I, Dio.
but it's I, Dio. And it was like,
Yeah,
so
I know that
watch,
meme.
So you watch it in English?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So like, I just like in my head, just randomly, I'll just be like, "But Kore Dio da!" And just like, because like the Japanese voice actor is so great. He's so
Is it as over the top as the English dub?
I have no idea, but it is the most over the top because it's just like I don't know how to describe it. You got to listen to like Japanese Dio, honestly. Like it's like the only reason to watch part 1 is just to get Japanese Dio.
Does Dio not show up in the rest of the anime?
He shows up in part 3.
Okay.
He doesn't show up because he died. Kind of. But you know, he makes an appearance again in part 3. Part 2 is all about these guys called the Pillar Men. One of them's AC/DC.
I noticed that they just keep dropping like band names left and right. I was like, why, guys? Why?
That's the whole show. Like they didn't. So like the American audience for anime wasn't aware. For the most part, wasn't aware of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, even though it was so big in Japan for so long. Just because.
What year is this from?
The 80s.
This is from the 80s?
Yeah, the original manga was published in the 80s.
Oh no, I mean the original anime, like the part 1 of the anime. Like when did it release?
Yeah, the part 1 of the anime. I want to say it was like 2013 to 15 or something.
Okay, because I was gonna say like if this is anime from the 80s, the animation's actually not as rough as you fucking say it is.
No. It's been fairly recent since it came back. I want to say it was like 2013 or something like that. Let me double check. 2012, I guess, is what they're saying. So that sounds about right. Because for the longest time it had no reach over in the States because they didn't want to bring it over because of all of the band name references. They weren't sure if there would be like copyright problems. Kind of similar to how in Street Fighter they had to change 3 character names because they wanted to avoid copyright infringement with Mike Tyson, because one of the characters, like the Japanese name for the black boxer character in Street Fighter is M. Bison. It was supposed to be like a parody of Mike Tyson.
And then they gave M. Bison to the bad guy?
Yeah, they gave M. Bison to the bad guy, and then Vega became the guy with the claws, and then...
Who was he before?
What?
Who was Vega originally then, if he became the guy with the claws?
Well, I need I forgot the third name now, because basically the way that you refer to them in online discourse is you have dictator, bullfighter, and boxer. Like that's how you refer to them. So, and I can only really remember M. Bison and Vega, but I can't remember the third character's name.
Balrog?
Off the top of my head. Balrog, yeah. So Vega was originally Balrog.
Yeah, M. Bison became Balrog. Balrog, the pretty boy Spaniard, became Vega. And Vega, the Shadaloo leader, became M. Bison.
Yeah. So, like, they changed that to try and avoid copyright issues in America, but you can't change every single character's name in JoJo, so they just didn't bring it over. So, the only real reference to, like, JoJo's that I was aware before this was all Part 3 stuff, because they had that OVA that we talked about, as well as there was a fighting game for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And JoJo's Bizarre, like, Part 3 is really famous because Dio drops a steamroller on somebody. And it's
Spoilers.
absolutely absurd. It's not. really a
I'm
spoiler.
just fucking with you.
So like everything was like Zawardo, and that was the only thing I knew about it until this version came out pretty recently.
I see.
But yeah, no, it's crazy. There's just like a random scene where like a 10-year-old kid is like, "Oh my god, I'm so fucking scared. I'm fucking pissing myself. What's going on?" It's so
Yeah,
weird.
the kid was just pissed. I was like, yeah, you don't have to tell us. We can tell because they're showing it.
Pissing myself.
And
I don't know.
and shouting the attack names. I was like, oh god, please stop.
Please stop saying overdrive for everything, please. Yeah,
So dumb.
no, it's great. And then the sword called Lucky that he writes
Plucky.
and now it's Plucky. Oh man,
So that was JoJo.
just great. Like like the first like 4 episodes kind of suck, and then it kind of turns into a passable monster anime.
Yeah, like the I get why people would like it. Like for me though, like this would have to have been something I got into when I was younger.
Yeah,
I could probably forgive the, oh my god, he's doing this now, even though you've just seen it. Stuff probably could have forgiven it a lot easier if I was younger. But right now I'm like, okay, this is just. I feel like I'm a child and you're spoon feeding me things.
Yeah, a little bit. Like this is. I think it was originally published in one of the Shonen Jumps or something like that. Like it's
according to this Wikipedia article, yes, it was a Shonen Jump thing.
Yeah.
Weekly
so
Shonen Jump from 1987 to 2004.
Yeah. So it's like one of those things where like it's kind of has to be accessible to kids. So it's not unheard of for it to be like that.
Still pissed off that they murdered the dog.
Yeah. But it was me, deal. I love the endings. Like that's another meme that goes around. Where it plays that one song. I forget who.
Oh yeah, that song. It sounds like another song, but they have different lyrics to it.
No, it's the same song.
Just in
because they just do the opening sting, and then it just does the to be continued. Like that's a really big meme. The to be continued.
It's called Roundabout.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that was JoJo's. Thrawn
Right,
Alliances.
Yeah, this book was a lot more boring.
I told you this one was a little bit rough.
Yeah. I was
Going back to the prequel era to the present. Like I wasn't a big fan of that, and it was like the chapters that were just like Padme heavy were kind of just like, all right, please finish.
Yeah. And the voice actor for the book impression of a girl was a little rough.
It was bad. I was like, oof. I don't know if it was because we were listening to it at like a higher speed than normal, but it didn't sound great. No. This is my first time listening to the audiobook. I read these before.
I feel like the author did a really good job of capturing just how much Anakin sucks in the prequels. Like he really made that character just feel like I was just watching a continuation of George Lucas.
Yeah, I did like the interactions between Thrawn and Anakin, and how Anakin was always like, man, fuck this guy. And Thrawn's like, nah, I'm right.
Yes, I guess. He talks about how much he hates sand or something like that in the book. Great job. Just nail it.
What did you so that's your opinion on the Clone Wars era part of the book. What about the present era?
I don't know. I'm not convinced that the not Chiss but the other aliens are
The Griss?
The Griss are some sort of disaster level threat. They just kind of got their shit pushed in right away.
So the thing about you find out more about the Grisks in I believe the next book, And then also they go a little bit more into not the Grisks themselves, but the client races that the Grisks use to kind of do their thing. Because the Grisks, they normally don't. They're not in the forefront. Yeah, they're not in the forefront. They basically like infiltrate other species and other races and turn them into their armies. And the thing is, it hasn't really gone into detail yet how they accomplish that.
Okay.
I'm hoping that they do kind of go into that, because like I'm not sure if like are they force sensitive and they're like really good at fucking with people's minds and just like turning things around on them, or like how else do they blackmail them into this? But the Ascendancy books, the trilogy that takes place before this, that one goes into a lot more detail over like the constant fucking attempts that the Grists are making at like just fucking up wild space.
Okay.
Honestly, I would have preferred if because originally Thrawn joined the Empire and became a Grand Admiral in the Empire because the Chiss Ascendancy was trying to prepare for the Yuzon Vong invasion. And they were extragalactic aliens that were coming over, and they were pretty much immune to the Force. Like the Force didn't exist to them. They couldn't be affected by it. And they were just like fucking monsters. They like just terraformed planets like and just destroyed them and made them unlivable to pretty much any other kind of beings. And that was their whole thing. I would have highly preferred if that was the threat that the Chiss Ascendancy was going against as opposed to the Grists, but I guess he got forced into creating the Grists instead of using the Vong. But yeah, like I said, Alliances I think is the weakest of this trilogy.
Okay.
Yeah. Treason is the last one. And the reason why there is no more after this trilogy is because if you watched Rebels, like they keep mentioning what happened in Rebels in this book. I think. Yeah, so like the whole
he kept saying like, you let those rebels get away, you piece of shit. You let those rebels get away, you piece of shit.
Because there was Thrawn comes back in the Rebels television show a couple times. It's like he's in it like in two different arcs. And in the first arc, he doesn't win. And that's where this takes place right after that. And then I guess after this, he goes right back to the Rebels show. And then his ending in Rebels, he basically gets sent into wild space with one of the characters from Rebels. And like, they're just never seen again. Like the end of Rebels, they're like, hey, like we haven't seen this kid that disappeared with Thrawn over like, it was like, he kind of like forced the hyperdrive to like go off without any kind of coordinates in.
Okay.
And so they end up into nowhere and like no one really knows where they ended up. So at the end of Rebels, it takes the end of Rebels, there's like a prologue where they're a few years after Return of the Jedi. Like the Empire's defeated and they're like, we're going to go find Ezra. Because we don't know where he's been. We don't know what's happened. We think he's still alive. And we just want to find him. Because he's like the main character of the show, Rebels. Mm-hmm. And he went off with Thrawn. Not willingly. Either of them were not really willing about what happened there. So I think in the Ahsoka show that they're going to be making with Rosario Dawson, because she's looking for Ezra and she's looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn, we're going to get more information on that. I'm assuming that what happens is Thrawn kind of lets him know, he's like, hey, this is the reason why I'm with the Empire. This is what I'm doing for. Plus also they're in wild space, so you can probably introduce them to the Chiss. And it's going to go more into the whole Grisk thing in that show, or at least introducing them into live action media. I don't know. I this is all speculation. Yeah. But again, yeah. The second book, Alliances, wasn't my favorite. The third one, from what I remember, I liked a lot better. But again, it's been a while. And the third one, you're gonna have director Krennic from Rogue One's in it, Tarkin's in it. We have Thrawn, obviously, and I think Vader maybe makes an appearance. I can't remember exactly. But now you have at least in this one, I think you have a better understanding of the Chiss a little bit, because they introduced the Chiss girls.
Oh, sure, I guess.
Yeah, the little the what they call Skywalkers. Yeah, like they don't have many instances of force sensitive people in the Chiss species, and they're almost always girls, and it goes away at like age 14.
That little like using the force to navigate. I'm like, oh, hey, you gonna give Dune its lunch money back after you beat it up and took that idea from it?
I don't remember if that was a thing in the original Thrawn trilogy. I don't think they touch on force sensitives at all within the Chiss in the Thrawn trilogy or the Hand of Thrawn duology at all.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably just created specifically for Disney. But yeah, that's that. So this one offended you more than the first Thrawn book?
I wouldn't, offended is the wrong word. It was just boring.
Yeah. I do like that they brought Cortosis back. You trying to remember what Cortosis is?
Yeah, I don't remember what.
That's the material that they were they were weaving into the battle droids. And,
okay.
Yeah, because Cortosis was a expanded universe thing, and apparently, like from what I remember, Cortosis was actually kind of toxic, in that like if you were exposed to like the raw ore, like you would like lose your hair, you'd lose like your skin pigment and all that stuff. Like it wasn't a good thing to be around, but it was also kind of really good against weapons and lightsabers. Like the Darth Bane Path of Destruction book, like the character Darth Bane, before he's a Sith, he's a fucking miner. He's mining Cortosis, and he's just like physically just frail and all fucked up.
Oh.
But yeah, so I'm gonna obviously I'm gonna say do treason next, but are you gonna make me do Jojo Part 2?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to double check and see where we were going with this.
No, I love Part 2. Part 2 is great.
Like you have this little smirk. You're like,
Like I kind of like Part 1, but it's a little rough. But I love Part 2.
Okay. All right. So that will be the next cultural exchange.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right.
Konnichiwa.